What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a patch information video for Monster Hunter Rise. This is covering patch version 3.1.0, which was made available on the 24th of June 2021. It's around the 0.65 gigabyte mark, but you'll need about 3.6 gigabytes of space in order to apply the update. Now this update doesn't really come with any new monsters, but it introduces some more paid DLC to the game, as well as paves the way for more event quests which we'll have over the next coming weeks. There are also various bug fixes and balance adjustments which we'll cover in this video. So let's get into this. Now I apologise if this drones on a little bit, but if you're interested to see what is changed, stick around and hopefully there'll be something you might be interested in. So anyway, first of all, in terms of main additions and changes to Monster Hunter Rise, there are two things to cover here. First of all, new event quests will be available every week for Monster Hunter Rise going forward. I don't know how long this will continue for, but I can imagine it will be at least until whatever the next major update for the game is. On top of that, new DLC has been made available in the Nintendo eShop for you to purchase if you so wish. These contain various layered armors, hairstyles, voice lines, and more. So, like I said, in terms of main additions and changes, there is nothing really too special. It's interesting to see what these new event quests will contain, but there are no new monsters or anything like that, so we're in a little bit of a quiet period for Monster Hunter Rise. But anyway, let's go into the nitty details and talk about bug fixes. First of all, in regards to bug fixes and changes to the bases and facilities in the game. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug that allowed players to control cannons even after moving away from them during Rampage quests. They also fixed a bug that occasionally caused unnecessary UI to be displayed on the quest completed screen after finishing that said Rampage quest. They also fixed a bug that allowed players to go to places they shouldn't be able to reach if the final gate is destroyed at the exact moment a Rampage quest is completed. So basically, once this occurred, after the Rampage quest was completed, you could access areas during the time you would normally get to loot a monster and gain access to these inaccessible areas. But anyway, it's not too much of an issue. Anyway, Capcom then fixed a bug causing power kilns to be activated only after releasing the A button during a Rampage quest. They also fixed a bug that caused the Palico drummers, Badum and Tis, to keep banging the drum if the host changed the background music to anything other than Brave Hunters. So a little minor cosmetic bug fix there. They also fixed the bug preventing the players from carving a severed tail if the tail overlaps with the fence switch in the arena. They also fixed a bug with the Palicos that caused their eyes to be wide open regardless of their eye type. This would occur when they were sent off on a trade via the Ogosi menu. Next up, they fixed a bug that caused the exclamation mark to be displayed on certain armors even when it was previously removed, when the player quits the game and restarts it. I personally had this bug, it was very annoying but very minor. Anyway, they fixed another bug causing pigment 2 to be displayed as white when set to black for certain armor types, so a nice fix for fashion hunters there. They also fixed a bug that caused the cursor and the status element graph to be mismatched if the player performs certain actions on the large monster list in the hunter's notes. They also changed the functionality so that if a player uses a character edit voucher to recreate their hunter and use one of the DLC voice lines, the existing voice that were selectable for the original hunter would be preserved. Capcom also addressed a bug that occasionally caused quest information to be incorrectly displayed if the player moves to the training area after accepting a quest offline. And finally, in regards to base bug fixes, they fixed a bug that occasionally caused account items to be stored in your pouch or item box when accepting helper rewards. So there you have it. Those are all the bug fixes in regards to bases and facilities in the game. Obviously a lot of fixes in regards to the rampages here, but this is just all smoothing out the overall experience. So anyway, let's move on to some more interesting bug fixes in regards to the monsters in Monster Hunter Rise. First of all, Capcom addressed a bug that allowed players to attack Tigrex without it fighting back in some areas of the sandy plains. Never had this happen to me, but it definitely could be taken advantage of. They also fixed a bug that caused erratic behaviour for Apex Rathalos if it performs certain actions. They don't specify what these actions are, unfortunately. They also fixed a bug causing Almudron's mud heaps to appear at the feet of a player who are very far away from the monster. Apparently that's not how it's supposed to be. They also fixed a bug causing some of Zenogre and Apex Zenogre's attacks not to have the thunder element on them, which means that Zenogre and Apex Zenogre may be hitting more harder after this patch. They also fixed a bug preventing some small monsters from trying to escape if their player attacks them while riding their canine. They also fixed a bug that occasionally prevented a player from capturing a monster if it is inflicted with paralysis, sleep, stun right after it springs a pitfall trap. Never had this happen to me. They also fixed a bug that prevented some of Rajang's attacks from being nullified by the Lance's insta-block move. They didn't specify which attacks these are, and to be honest, I haven't experienced this, but then again, I haven't done many hunts with the Lance in Monster Hunter Rise yet. Anyway, next up they fixed a bug that occasionally caused the number of hits to be decreased when attacking Ragnar Kodaki's head with a Spirit Helm Breaker or Slicing Ammo, so potentially those two weapons, well, the bowguns and the longsword, will now deal more damage to Ragnar Kodaki's head. They also fixed a bug causing the connection to be lost when taking on a Ragnar Kodaki quest in multiplayer. Again, I've never really experienced this one. Capcom also addressed a bug that occasionally prevented splitting Wyvern shot damage from being displayed correctly. It doesn't specify if they mean displayed correctly as in it was doing lower numbers or higher numbers, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out. They also fixed a bug occasionally making it difficult to hit Narwhal's head with the longsword Spirit Helm Breaker. They also fixed another bug that occasionally caused Narwhal to slide in an unnatural manner. They don't specify much more than this. Another bug with Narwhal is that they addressed a bug that prevented a player from completing the quest if they down Narwhal with specific timing. Again, they don't specify which timing this is. Next up, they fixed a bug that occasionally caused platforms to appear that cannot be climbed with your weapon unsheathed during the Thunder Goddess and the All Mother quests. And finally, they fixed a bug that caused players to get hit when making Narwhal flinch with specific timing using an installation, so a ballista, cannon, so on and so forth, during the Thunder Goddess quest. So there you have it, those are all the bug fixes and balance adjustments to the monsters in Monster Hunter Rise. In a way, it's going to be interesting to see how some of this pans out, and also it seems like the longsword will be doing more damage against some monsters here. But regardless, like I said, much like the bases and facility bug fixes, this is all balancing out and smoothing the overall experience of the game. Which brings us on to the next section, which is quite substantial to say the least, which are changes and bug fixes to the players in Monster Hunter Rise. This is normally referring to moves and weapons that the hunter actually performs. This also sometimes applies to the hunter taking hits from monsters and such. But anyway, let's get on with this. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug that occasionally caused the camera to move right over the player's head and or preventing additional hits from landing when successfully hitting a monster with the longsword's EI Spirit/Slash counter. So again, another bug fix in some respects to the longsword here, making it potentially more powerful. But anyway, next up Capcom fixed a bug that occasionally caused some of Narwhal's attacks to hit twice. So a fix to the player's hitbox potentially there. Next up, they fixed a bug causing a lag in the controls when performing a dodge and using certain items via the radial menu with your weapon unsheathed. This affected the sword and shield, the longsword and the dual blades when demon mode was not active. So a nice little fix there. I have noticed there was some lag when using the radial menu and certain items, so hopefully this will make for a smoother experience. Anyway, next up they adjusted monster behaviour that made it harder to hit them because of their movement and special actions after a player performs the longsword Spirit Helmbreaker, EI Spirit/Slash or the Silkbind Sakura/Slash. Again, another bug fix to the longsword there. Next up, a bug fix was made that caused the Hunting Horn's Sonic Wave to deal extra shockwave damage for each player inside the area of effect. So a little bit of a nerf there in some respect. Capcom then fixed a bug causing players to become rigid if they dodge backwards and to the left or right and then move in the opposite direction right after attacking with the Hunting Horn, so it should feel a little bit more smoother. Sticking with the Hunting Horn, Capcom fixed a bug preventing K9's certain follow-up attacks from activating if the player enters the commands for the Hunting Horn's backward strike to double swing combo too quickly. This has affected attacks including the K9's assist, overhead smash and crush abilities. They also fixed a bug preventing the thrust part of the initial attack of the Hunting Horn's Infernal Melody from having collision detection if it was performed with a delay. Now moving away from the longsword to talk about the lance a bit. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug that caused the player to move in the wrong direction when performing the lance's spiral thrust using the direction control settings type 2. Again with the lance, Capcom fixed a bug preventing the player from using the backwards guard dash after comboing the lance's spiral thrust into a leaping thrust. And finally for the lance, Capcom addressed a bug preventing the player from guarding if they stand on top of an item and try to guard with the lance sheathed when using player action settings type 2. So some control bug fixes there in regards to the lance, which hopefully should make things smoother for players who like to use control settings type 2. Moving away from the lance, we're now going to be talking about the switch axe slightly. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug causing the action for directional control setting type 2 to be activated even when type 1 has been selected while performing the axe morph slash after attacking with the switch axe. And then finally, with the switch axe, Capcom adjusted monster behavior that made it harder to hit them because of their movement and special actions when the player performs additional attacks by rapidly tapping the button for the switch axe's zero-sum discharge finisher. They didn't really specify what the behavior is, but hopefully this should make things smoother for using the switch axe. But moving away from the switch axe to talk about the charge blade. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug that caused the charge blade's amped elemental discharge to stray left or right too often. They also fixed a bug preventing the power increase from being applied when guarding with the charge blade's counter morph slash after an axe element discharge 2 or condensed spinning slash. Sticking with the charge blade, they also fixed a bug preventing the monster's stun level from increasing even when blocking an attack with guard point during the charge blade's impact file elemental boost. They also fixed a bug causing minor rigidness for the player character if they stand still after a forward dodge in the charge blade's sword mode and then start moving again, so it should feel a little bit more smoother. And then finally, for the charge blade, they fixed a bug preventing players from moving in the direction the stick is pushed in if they perform the charge blade's morphing advancing slash right after they start moving. So it seems like they're balancing out and smoothing things for the charge blade in regards to movement more than anything else, which should make the weapon feel a little bit more mobile in all honesty. The charge blade has been a weapon that I have had mixed feelings on in Monster Hunter Rise in all honesty. It used to be one of my favourite, if not in my top 2 weapons of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, but with Rise it's a different story. Hopefully these changes will make things different though, we'll see. Anyway, moving on to the heavy bowgun. First of all, they fixed a bug causing critical range corrections to be applied to the heavy bowgun's Wyvern ammunition. They also fixed a bug causing intervals between the heavy bowgun's walking recoil small and walking recoil medium, walking single fire auto reload and the Wyvern ammo to become too long. And then finally for the weapons, they fixed a bug allowing the player to use the Herculean draw with only 1 unit of the wire bug gauge under certain circumstances. This applies to the bow. So those are the changes to the weapons in the game. But anyway, let's move away from changes in regards to the weapons to talk about more player changes, namely in regards to aesthetics, layered armors, and other minor things like that. First of all, Capcom fixed a bug that caused a natural display of the Izuchi tail hairstyle when combined with certain pieces of equipment. They don't specify which equipment this is. They also fixed a bug preventing machine cannons and elevated platforms from being displayed if a player joined in or dropped out of a hunt with specific timing during the All-Mother quest, resulting in the quest not being completable. I've never had this happen to me, but any bug that prevents a quest from being completable is kind of an essential bug fix to make to the game. Anyway, Capcom then went on to fix a bug preventing the UI from being displayed if the player changes areas with specific timing during the All-Mother hunt. They also fixed a bug that occasionally caused the player to change the appearance of another hunter after completing a quest in multiplayer. That's actually quite amusing to hear. I've never had that happen to me before, but it would be interesting to see how these appearances would change. Anyway, Capcom then went on to fix a bug preventing players from carving if a quest is completed while the slain monster overlaps with a monster in a mountable state. They also fixed a bug preventing palicos with the F-Kulu loot equip, so the Kuluyaku weapon, from showing up for other players during multiplayer. They also fixed a bug causing the edges of the Rathian's helm visor to look unnatural when using body type 1. They also fixed a bug causing the graphics for the twin ponytail bangs to become distorted when equipping the Aknosom helm. Some items have multiple crafting patterns if the player sets one pattern to the radial menu and then reboots the game. The radial menu setting sometimes gets overwritten with another pattern. This has now been fixed. So this is one for players who like to craft things during a hunt via the radial menu. They also fixed a bug causing the change of perspective to malfunction if another player fires the Dragon Piercer whilst one player is controlling a ballista or cannon, or alternatively is in aim mode with a ranged weapon. They also fixed a bug causing a player to be pushed out of the area if they change areas with specific timing during the All-Mother quest. They also fixed a bug causing the Rathalos male shoulder parts to appear distorted when using body type 1. Capcom also addressed a bug preventing the player from quickly picking up multiple dropped materials whilst riding a palamute. Capcom then went on to fix a bug that occasionally caused the position where the player can carve Nawa to differ from the positions of other players on the same hunt. And finally, for the player bug fixes, I know there's been a few of them, Capcom adjusted functionality so that hunters won't move while placing a trap even if they're pushed by a monster. So there you have it, those are all the player bug fixes and adjustments to the game. In all honesty, the most interesting aspect of these are the changes in regards to the weapons in the game, hopefully making things more smoother overall. Obviously there are graphical improvements that have been made with the player bug fixes, but for the most part the weapon changes and adjustments are welcome. It is going to be interesting to see if the longsword gets more powerful as a result of these changes, but we'll have to wait and see, and after some more testing we can make a concrete conclusion to if the longsword is even more